All right, welcome back in. Do you mind taking a question from a caller?
Not at all.
All right, we'll do that here in just a second. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 9 a.m., Wednesday, October 1st. Ralph Russo in 20 minutes. Talk to Aaron Feld, former college strength coach, a little bit more. Larry he's been very patient, wants to ask you a question. Larry, welcome into the show. You're on with myself and Aaron Feld.
What an interesting segment, guys. Just Aaron, I just wanted to ask you a question or two and then a comment. But I turned 61 in January, and I'm a diabetic. I take 3 shots a day, and I want to find out more about you there in Homewood. But, years and years ago, it was always referenced as orthopedic sport rehab. It's evolved into sports medicine, but now UAB markets it as sports and exercise medicine. My question is simply this. In your opinion, professionally, what's more important, physical or the mental side of sports? And I love the segment, guys. Very, very interesting. And I'll just hang up and listen.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate the call, man. Fitomics.org, Fitomics.org. Correct? That's where you
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, all right. So, Larry, 2 things. One, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think the mental side is extremely important. It's funny, me and Cole were actually talking about during the break. I'd love to come on here one day and just talk about mindset. There's a reason why, the Bible's called the Word of God, because words have power, right? And so what's in your mind is going to come out of your mouth. And if you speak power into negativity or doubt, you are going to manifest that 100%. All right. So how do we build confidence? Part of it is not pushing people past their breaking point, but pushing them to the breaking point and helping them overcome that and succeed, or fail very narrowly with the idea that if I do this again next time, I'm going to succeed. It's a very delicate balance. And so the physical side is extremely important, because if you're not in a good base level shape, you don't have base level power and leverage, you're going to just get completely worked on a football field. And I always just tell people to go out, as a D2 school or a D1 AA school and go play an SEC team or a Division I college team, Power 4 team, and only lose by 50 points is an extremely amazing feat, the amount of work and talent that goes into that. And so the margin of victory, ability physically in college sports is so narrow. And the differentiator is going to be mindset. Are you so caught up in the last play that it affects the next play? And that doesn't mean a bad play, right? Toxic positivity is just as dangerous as toxic negativity. If I'm too busy celebrating how good I am from what I did the previous play, that I get blasted and either get bombed on or drop a touchdown pass, et cetera, et cetera. So the mindset piece is equally important, but it has to be in conjunction with the physical side. And this is a little bit what we talked about earlier with, head football coaches wanting to build toughness by running dudes into the ground. And the key here is, like, you have to push them hard. No one's advocating for softness, right? But you have to push them to their breaking point, and then either create a scenario where they can win or have them fail in a narrow margin of victory to the point where, like, I know that I can accomplish this. Because if I go out there and give my best and I get absolutely worked, now I've got to figure out if I have what it takes. And I've got a soul search, And so a strength coach's prerogative in the offseason is to make sure when they get in those practices that they can physically withstand the rigors necessary to get to the point of practice where everybody's tired, you're pushed to your limits. Can I keep going and either succeed or narrowly miss the mark to the point where I know that if I keep working, I'm going to get there? I hope that answers your question regarding mental toughness versus physical readiness. And it is that's where the art of coaching really comes into play, because all the science that we can give you in the world is really important to get you close to the mark. But there really is an art form to putting all those pieces together to get the outcome that you want. So, from a mindset standpoint as a coach, leadership, right? I always give a definition of leadership is, leadership's not being right. It's getting the right response. So whatever I have to do to get the appropriate measured response I want from my athletes, and that it comes from developing their mindset, it comes from developing their bodies, but also understanding where we are today. It's not always training the team that you want, it's training the team that you have.
I'm writing these quotes down. I'm sorry.
It's all good. But hey, in regard,
I love what you said about Mario, though, that you think that being an offensive line coach, that background helps him in so many ways, because he used to have to create a unit to put on the field that was not going to be good unless they operated well together. And you take that to a team perspective, and obviously it feels like it makes a ton of sense. What have you thought from a distance watching that team operate this year?
They've got what it takes, man. we up until the middle of the summer, they made strides physically. We put an elite plan together. They finished the plan out through the end of the summer. Irvin Young, their head strength coach, I brought him back from Tennessee. He was on staff previously, because I knew that, when the time came that he would step in and run the play and get these guys ready. And then with Eric Renahan overseeing everything, making sure that they stayed on task. Like, I knew I left them in a good position, from that perspective. And so that's not going to be something that gets in their way. But the other piece of that is, every position, all 22 starters and all 22 backups plus, they have all of the pieces and the culture for next man up, right? And these kids love each other and they love football. I mean, that's the key. You don't have to like a kid and hang out with him outside of football to respect his ability to make plays and love him in the locker room. You don't have to listen to the same music, drive the same car, hang out at the same places on the weekends in the off season, to love your teammates. And these guys love each other and they value each other's ability to impact the team. And so when you have that plus all of the talent that they have, the only team that can beat Miami is Miami.
Yeah. I just watch him, and Keontae Scott, a kid who was at Auburn, like, just he and Poyser and some of these dudes in the secondary, like, it looks like an early 2000s Miami defense. Like, they've got killers on that side of the ball. Reuben Bain, people don't need me to tell them that he's good because he's made plays in all these high-profile games that they've made. But, like, Wesley Basainth, watching him run around and work people, it's like no one even knows who he is. But he's taking on pullers, running through double teams, and you're just like, whoa.
Well, Wesley's put the work in, man. I mean, there was a time, back 2 summers ago, actually, I think it was in January this past year, where we stood some of the guys up and said, "What do you want? What do you need to do to be your best version of you?" He said, "I got to put on 15, 20 pounds." And I said, "Do you truly believe that to be the best linebacker? Do you need to do that?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Ask any one of your teammates in here, based on your behavior, your actions, your habits these last 2 years, does anybody else believe that you believe that?" And just crickets. But then from January until June when I left, I mean, the dude put on 15 pounds. And he started doing the things nutritionally. He started doing the things on recovery, doing all the things he needed to do that. And so you say nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows who he is because he didn't realize his potential the first 2 years. Right. And he's doing it now. And you talk about Reuben Bain. Reuben Bain's an elite talent, but he's also a good human being. And he wants to be great. Youthful exuberance the first couple of years he was there, and some maturity that he's grown into to doing things right all the time. But don't forget, you got Akeem Mesidor on the other side.
Yeah, he's having a good year too.
You want to talk about a leader? You want to talk about an elite human being? When I left, I didn't get a chance to talk to a bunch of players. This dude called me, and I wasn't allowed back in the facility. The college football it needs to be that way. Clean break, respect, give them room to move on. And I stayed away from a lot of the players just out of respect for what they were trying to accomplish. Akeem texted me and called me and came outside the facility when I was packing up my office to give me a hug. And but that's the kind of humans that you have on that team, and they play and fight for each other. Yeah. And that's why they're going to succeed.
You brought up Mark Fletcher earlier too. Like, I thought Damian Martinez was a hammer because I watched him at Oregon State last year. And then it's like Fletcher keeps showing up and you're like, dude, they got another one of that guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's no difference.
Yeah.
Like, in this year, the amount of runs where I've seen, it's like he gets in between the guard and tackle, and you're like, okay, well, I can just fast forward. And then you fast forward, and he's like, all of a sudden squirts out, and he's 10 yards downfield. Like, wait a second. Yeah. Like, the dude he doesn't stop.
And he's fast. He's so big. People don't realize how fast he is. But the thing that defines Mark Fletcher, he lost his father last year during the season. And his father was a huge Hurricanes fan. And obviously, we would have given him space, do whatever you need to do. And he said, no, my team needs me, and my dad would want me to do that. And so, Mark, if you're listening, man, I'm not trying to put your business out there, but I'm just so proud of the way that you handled everything. But the dude's practicing with tears in his face. He's playing with tears on his face. And, people think being masculine and being manly is being a robot and looking unaffected by pain and fear and doubt. But a true warrior has no problem striking down their enemy with tears in their face and sadness in their heart. And that's what this dude embodies. He's a true warrior, and people want to be like him and want to be around him. He makes the team better just by standing next to his teammates.
That's pretty cool to hear. And then obviously the offensive line is pretty big time. Got some big time players. Maliaga obviously is insane, but Mario sort of cultivated this group for a while now.
Yeah.
And got him playing at a high level.
Yeah. All right, college football fans, I'm going to help Cole out here, and I'm going to help you out here. Anytime you're looking at a Samoan name and you see a G, it's an NG. So Maui Noa.
Maui Noa.
Okay, you got Uiagalelei, right? You got Tungavailoa or Tungavailoa. It's NG. Y'all help each other out, man. Let's get these kids'
Maui
names.
Unga?
Maui Noa.
Maui Noa.
Right? And so it's more like an N with a soft G. And y'all help each other out, man. These kids' names.
We need help.
The name on the back of your jersey matters, man. You represent your family. So I actually had a conversation with a young lady at a football party I went to this past weekend. She's wearing a Tua jersey. And I said, the rule is if you can't pronounce the name, you got to take the jersey off. No, but seriously, my last name's 4 letters, Feld, and people mispronounce it all the time. I get Field, I get Felds, I get a Z.
You can imagine what I get.
My dad got a racing part from for Gerardo Frill one time. So, like, I'm being funny right now, but, like, these kids are representing their families.
No, it's a big deal.
Yeah, y'all take a minute and practice, dude, because it'll mean the world to people.
When you call the games, you get it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a big part that goes into it. But he's a freaking dude.
Yeah.
Like,
And so he front squatted like 500 pounds as a freshman.
please.
You know, he's a big dude, and so he's got some tight glutes, and you had some low back stuff, and like we don't squat him or didn't. You know, like it was like, hey, like you're strong enough, like let's get better at football. But then on the other side, you got you got a 6 foot.
It's kind of like the old Jamal Lewis rule, where he said when he got to the NFL, he was like, I stopped lifting weights because I got too big. Like literally could not be a running back because he was just like bulking up.
Well, you got other guys on the team. We got guys that couldn't do a bodyweight squat. And so you got a guy squatting 405 now that couldn't do a bodyweight squat when he got there. Biggest improvement ever. But like, what's the number you got to squat to be a great football player?
Yeah, it's not real.
So as a strength coach, it's your job to make sure they're strong enough. But like, are you going to the conference going, look, I got 9 guys that can squat 700 pounds? Or are you like, hey, my team mauled your team. Congrats for your 9 500-pound squatters.
It's cool to think about it that way because I even get obsessed with the numbers sometimes. And I find myself that a lot of the teams that I go to and strength coaches give me these cool numbers about guys and I write them on my charts. We don't ever talk about those guys because they're not the ones that are making plays and they're the best football players. I'm going to ask you this question, and if you don't want to answer it, don't have to. But there are a lot of people that talk about Mario and say, you know, the in-game stuff or can get close but not going to get over the hump. What would you counter that with as to why Mario can or is an elite coach in college football? Can be or is now or will continue to be?
Coach surrounds himself with elite people. You know, he brought people in to help with – when you're a head strength coach, the rule is hire to your weaknesses, right? Olympic lifting is not I can do it. It's not my strong suit. But I had Victor Ishmael, who's been at Miami for 25 years, who is an elite coach when it comes to coaching Olympic lifting. So when we did Olympic lifting school, he ran it, right? And you have to have you have to put your ego to the side. You have to have a massive ego. My ego is so massive. Yeah, y'all can laugh. All right, that I will not allow.
Is or was?
Is.
Okay.
That I will not allow myself to be the reason we failed. So if I've got somebody on my staff that's better at something than me, I have to move aside and give them the opportunity to lead us where we need to go.
Yeah.
Right? Coach has started to do that. Right? He's brought people in to make sure the areas where he's not elite, he's good at everything. That he's not elite, that he has people in place to do it. It's trial by committee, man. You have to lean on the people that you have around you. So when you bring in elite people and you let them do their jobs, good things happen. And so that's ultimately going to be the deciding factor and why they're ultimately going to be successful when that happens.
All right, so I got people text me that they've pulled their notebooks out now, trying to write down all these quotes. And the reason I'm doing it is I have a book back in my office back there, and it's just of quotes from coaches, and it could be about pressures on defense. Yeah. It could be about how to wake up and feel better about yourself. And I'm just going to give it to my kids one day. But these are things that I'm not smart enough to say, but I know they work.
Well, I'm trying to
read these as much as you can.
I'm trying to give that to the civilian population, man. Like, you know, I spoke to a few companies about, you know, leadership and culture building, and there's so many parallels to college football and work, right? And being part of a team in business.
100%.
So I spoke to Apt, my brother's company, to their sales team and their management team about like just being on the same page and how to communicate with one another. I'm speaking at a United Methodist.
Well, they just needed that because he's such a bad leader. Really.
No, he's dude. You'd be amazed.
It's a joke. I'm kidding.
Well, I like to talk trash about him, so I have to make sure I don't do that. You'd be amazed at the work that they've done to build their culture. Because you're in a sales environment, right? Sales is contractors, man. Every man for himself.
Yep.
But when you got them working together, they have a pillar that's called "Whose car are we taking?" And so when someone comes to you with a problem, it's that old movie with Ben Affleck. He's like, "Hey, you can't ask any questions. We're gonna hurt some people. Like, I need your help." And he's like, "Okay, whose car are we taking?"
The town.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And that's one of their core values. No questions. I got you. What are we doing?
It's like Kirby says, who cares? Nobody cares.
And I'm trying to take that stuff to the real world, man. Like speaking to his company, speaking at a United Methodist men's conference in January. I spoke to another company, Interior Elements here in town, to their sales team about like communication and being elite. And so there's so much room for the civilian population to take these lessons we've learned in the highest intensity and emotional situations, but apply that to the day-to-day and just be absolutely unbreakable. And that's the mindset piece to it.
You have a lot of that to share. That's what's cool about you. And you remind me a little bit, in essence, of Tyler Siskey. I don't know if you've ever crossed paths with Tyler. He was on staff at Ole Miss, at Alabama, Arkansas State. He was actually a walk-on football player with me at Auburn. And he does a podcast now talking about college football. And his best segments are just random stuff that he will remember. And I tell him all the time, I was like, you have no idea how much cool stuff you know that people want to hear. And you're in a very similar spot. Like and you actually have it in different avenues, different ways. I want to ask you one more question, and this is a sort of a sharp left turn before I let you go. And this is a little bit selfish, and this is a little bit observant because you do live down the street from me now, and I've been able to see you with your kids. How difficult is it for you to remove the strength coach from the dad? Because there's a lot of it that is directly applicable. Because you and I have talked a little bit about parenting and, well, hey, do this, and I can see, well, that would be right in line with what you would have told your players. Like the same way, the same guidelines, the same way to deliver a message. But a lot of that also cannot be applicable. How do you balance that?
Well, the cool thing is, like I said, leadership's not about being right. It's about getting the right response. I don't have to fully separate being a strength coach from being a dad because being a strength coach is doing whatever it takes to help somebody else reach their potential. Right. What I have to do is the Coach Feld character, which is, a mixture of White Goodman from Dodgeball, Tony Perkis Jr. from Heavyweights, and Rex Kwon Do from Napoleon Dynamite. I have to shut that character off because that's over the top, create emotional, like memory's tied to emotion. Well, a 4-year-old's already emotional. You don't have to create that emotion by pushing him to the edge. He's already there. And so having turning that part off, but like the practical, like the progressive overload of like, my son's not capable of making the right decision sometimes. That doesn't mean that we don't hold him accountable to making the wrong decision, and there's consequences to making the wrong decision. But you don't shame somebody for failing in a endeavor that they had no chance of succeeding in the first place. But this is where I differ from a lot of parents is I shame bad behavior all the time. You act out, you throw a fit, you're not going to get what you want. I want to give it to you because I'd like for you to stop crying, but I'm not going to because you don't get to act poorly and get rewarded. And that strength coach hard line, I keep that.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to create a scenario where my son's afraid to fail around me or he makes a mistake, emotional knee-jerk reaction that he can't overcome because he's 4. And I don't want him to feel shame for failing in those moments. But there's still accountability to doing the wrong thing, always.
Yeah, that early portion that you said there, my wife brings up with me a lot. She's like, you're trying to have a conversation with a 5-year-old. He's 5. Mm-hmm. He doesn't. And even 8-year-old, same thing. Like you're trying to have a real conversation, like an adult conversation with an 8-year-old. Like emotionally, he's not ready for that. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I can't really approach it that way.
Well, you got to have the quick hitters, the things that they actually can sink their teeth into in action, but then have the real conversation. I mean, my wife was talking to our son about how we believe in a triune God. I barely know what triune means, but he's heard it now, and he's going to hear it over and over and over and over and over until one day he just knows it because he's heard it, osmosis, if you will.
Sure.
But you got to hit them with the quick hitters that they can handle. But dude, don't talk to kids like babies. Talk to your kids like they're little adults, even though they can't understand everything, and walk them through it. And that's what we try really hard to do. Like my oldest son's a little bit more of an intellectual. He's not really a physical dude. He doesn't really like to push physically. He started doing jujitsu and he likes it. But like when things get hard, he tends to stop and think. And I don't want to shame him for that, make him feel bad for that. But we pour into him. Like we're at the race. My dad does races. He does 24 hours of lemons, and he's out doing race at Barber all the time. But we take him to the shop, and he's we've talked about race cars all the time. And on the front of a race car, you have these ducts that cool the brakes. There's a tube that comes out of the front bumper that puts air towards the brakes. And he's standing there with my dad. And he said, "Pop, that's to cool the brakes off." And my dad like breaks his neck, turn around, looking at me, and it's like, I mean, we've talked about it. I don't remember when we talked about it, but
Right.
like they pick up a lot more than we give them credit for. And I don't think you should shy away and try to dumb things down for them. But if something's important, you got to give it to them in chunks that they can handle. But like, don't shy away from giving them the full explanation. Don't assume someone's dumb. And I don't mean a kid or I'm just like, I talk over people's heads all the time with the science. You ask the questions you need answers. I'm not going to assume that you
Sure.
don't understand what I'm saying.
I do that with conceptual football with mine a lot.
Yeah.
Like talking about coverage and blocking schemes and route combination. And it's like, I know they don't know what I'm talking about, but I want them to start
Yeah.
hearing it.
Well, because one day it's going to click.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, dude, Justin Herbert, elite dude, right? So the year before I got there, they were running this play and they had a game plan scenario like, hey, if you are in this play and the defense does this, this is what you do. Good. Well, fast forward like a year later, we're in the summer. They call that play out of practice. The defense does whatever the thing is, and he runs the audible or whatever. And they're like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, you said if this ever happens, this is what we do. He's like, bro, that was like 18 months ago, and it was a game plan situation for it. He's like, well, that's what you said.
You told me.
So, but those things, I mean, even young people, like they hear it, and at some point that information, like everything you've ever read, thought, heard, it's all in there. But do you have access to it? So the more you think about something, like the more you study your playbook, the stronger the image of that playbook is in your mind. Okay. The more you spend time thinking about that playbook when it's not in front of you, the stronger your connection to that information. Like data is stored in your brain physically. It's like physical, like wrinkle in your brain. It's physically there, but your access to it neurologically is dictated by how much time you spend thinking about it when you're not sharpening the image.
Sure.
Right. And so that's the process of memory and learning. It's cool. A guy I got Harrison Whittles, Tiger Tech Solutions out of Miami. He does some really cool stuff. He's working on like the neurocognitive properties of learning the playbook and then applying that in an environment where you stress them in a certain way to make them recall it in a stressful environment. Because you have players that are great under stress, but they struggle to learn in a classroom environment. And you got kids that know the playbook back and forward until the lights come on and they get hit in the mouth. It's like, how do we close that gap? But so by telling your kids things at a high level enough times, eventually they're just going to know it.
I told Pete Golding this when we had Ole Miss first game of the year. I was like, I don't know if you're going to love this or be embarrassed by this. I said, but I've been tasked with helping my daughter with her homework a few times this year. She's in 5th grade. And I said, sometimes when one thing doesn't work, we'll go to the other. And I said, I got this from you during COVID, and you were telling us about Malachi Moore. And you told me the reason that he's playing as a freshman is there's 3 types of learners: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And he said, Malachi is the best visual learner I've ever been around. Because in COVID, they couldn't go out and do it, and they couldn't sit in a room together and talk about it. So he basically just showed him on the board via Zoom. And he said, we could do it one time. He knew all of it. All the checks, all the coverages, all the route combinations, like he had it. He's one of the only guys. And I said, I referenced you with my 5th grade daughter as to, okay, well, visually, if this isn't working, let's try it audibly. And I'll ask you the questions or tell you what it is, and you can respond back and forth, whatever. And then I want you to write it down, so I want you to do it also. Not necessarily the same as like learning a football play or football technique, but like, let's see it, let's hear it, and then let's do it. You're going to pick it up one of those ways. Mm-hmm. And I said, so Pete Golding has taught my 5th grade daughter how to study for math.
I love that.
And he was just like, hey, man, I'm helping the world, so I'll take it. So
that's awesome.
Thanks so much for hopping in, man. This was awesome. Yeah. We will definitely do this again.
I'm looking forward
Definitely
to it.
do it again. There's a lot more in there we need to get out, and I know our listeners have enjoyed it. I've got a bunch of texts, bunch of tweets about it. So tell the listeners, if they are interested in what you're doing now, again, where they can find you.
Hey, we're at fitomics.org, FITOMICS.org. Offer anything and everything you can think of related to precision medicine and health and wellness. And Player, PLAYR, Player Youth on Instagram, or playeryouth.com to see this youth sports product we got coming out this month. It's going to be a game changer. Get in on the front end.
Not PLAYA.
PLAYR.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Aaron Feld, great stuff, man. Thanks for coming in. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, Cole.
All right. We'll be back with Ralph Russo right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Really appreciate Aaron Feld, former college strength coach, stopping in, hanging out in the studio today. We could do multiple hours on that because he has so much information, so much to give, but we will definitely do it again. Now we turn to talk a little bit more college football, and we will do that with Ralph Russo, who joins us on the Higginbotham hotline. Ralph, we were talking earlier, how would you designate that team?
Oh, I've been pretty comfortable with a number one team. I think when you clear technology, you to think like that's the next with like right. That's the team to beat in the country right now. And I don't necessarily view this Ohio State as that type of number one. And if you wanted to argue to me that Oregon is actually the best team in the country, or, I think Miami's put up a pretty good case. I'm not sure if I'm quite there yet on Miami. Whether you want to point out one of the better, the SEC looks like it's going to be kind of a grind. And I think to expect anybody in the SEC to go undefeated is probably crazy. But we've seen over the last couple of weeks that, there's obviously some high level contenders there. So, right. Is there a clear number one team in the country? I think Ohio State has made a nice claim to that spot, but I don't see them as again, when we use that terminology, as the clear team to beat for the national championship.
Because we were kind of going back and forth, Ralph, with and Ralph Russo of The Athletic joining us on the Higginbotham hotline, and look at different ways to look at this. Is it the best win? Who has the best loss? And some of those, you think about the last 5 days, how different that is even. Like Alabama absolutely had the best loss, but then what happens to Virginia to Florida State, then is that the best loss? Does Georgia have the best win in Knoxville, but then Mississippi State looks like maybe Tennessee shows us that they might not be as good as we thought? Is it Oregon at Penn State? Is it Miami against Notre Dame, which maybe now people aren't going to look at that way, but fast forward 4 or 5 weeks with what Notre Dame just did to Arkansas, we might be saying, hold on now, Miami might have the best win in the nation. So even if you wanted to go that way, Ralph, it's tough to designate who's done what so far through this season.
Oh, without question. And that's why, the rankings this early in the season are such a snapshot, and there's still so little information. I mean, you're still dealing with teams that, maybe have played 4 or 5 games, but only 2 or 3 of them are really meaningful games. So again, you kind of get into that idea of well, it's early in the season. Let me reward a team for, as you said, a big, let me try as best as I can. This is the approach I've been taking, right, as a voter now in the AP poll, right? Let me try to isolate what I think are the biggest games and the most impressive performances and give some deference to those teams. But when you're talking about 1 or 2 games, that's not enough of a sample size to really get an idea of sort of the bigger picture, who is the best team in the country. You could just be rewarding a team for one good win, right? We saw Ohio State beat a Texas team that I still think is really good. There's an interesting conversation that sort of sprouted up this weekend about, SEC centric because of the results. Who is, just forget who's the best team in the country. Who is the best team in the SEC? And Texas didn't play, but on our show, what I said is my takeaway from the events in the SEC is that I think Texas is going to be just fine. I know they've lost their only big game, and then they beat up a bunch of tomato cans, but I just feel like don't forget about Texas. I suspect that they're going to be just fine when I look at the other contenders.
It's interesting because Texas came up too, Ralph, and I was kind of going through the current AP top 25 and not necessarily saying, hey, this is exactly what it should look like. But if there's a team that sticks out that is where they are and you're having to put a list of reasons together, if I'm creating a bio to hand over to somebody to justify why I have them there, Texas at 9 seems more difficult than any other team being ranked where they are. And some of that is eye test, obviously, because certain people will say, well, they won the games, handled their business. It's like, nah, it doesn't look the way it's supposed to when you have the talent that that team does. And I agree, they might be fine. They could be okay, but they also feel like they have more concerns than the teams that are around them as far as where they're ranked, how they're perceived.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it looks this week. I do. They've had so what happened in Columbus. It's weird. I think we get so focused on Arch, and I understand why. And he has not been good. It ain't looking great. But I think if you pull back on what happened in Columbus, that team put 4 long drives together on a defense that's pretty nasty. Now, didn't score enough touchdowns on them. Bottom line, they lost the game and they did not score enough touchdowns. So that's all that really matters in the end. But if I'm looking at Texas with its running backs healthy, because they haven't been over the last few weeks. But I'm hoping if you're Texas, you're hoping that that gets figured out going into Florida. Maybe you get Mosley back, the wide receiver transfer from Stanford. Maybe you've moved along and made some progress with Wingo, because I think that's another 5-star on that team that maybe needs to step up a little bit to help Arch. The defense is still loaded. I'm really fascinated by what we see in Gainesville. And you're right. I think Texas right now is still riding its preseason ranking and preseason perception. I'm interested to see what we see from them in Gainesville this week to get a much better idea of were their early season glitches. Is that going to be a problem all year? Or, did 3 tomato cans and a week off give them time to sort of figure out what they need to get figured out and get healthy offensively?
Ralph Russo of The Athletic joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking college football, sort of top to bottom. And I was sort of blown away with what I saw from Ohio State when I put the film on of them against Washington over the weekend. I think it's a pretty good Washington team. I think they're well coached. Where's Ohio State in all this compared to Oregon, compared to Miami? Would you peel any of those away from the others? Is it maybe a 3-team race there with all 3 of those? Is there one that should be left out as you view it today?
I do think Oregon and Ohio State at this point look a little different than Miami. And as good as Miami is up front, and they are really, really good up front, which I think is going to be the thing that keeps them in this conversation about who the best teams are in the country. I do wonder if Miami maybe is lacking a little bit of the explosiveness that Ohio State and Oregon have. The one thing I'm interested about in Ohio State, and you're right, the defense looks great. Arvell Reese is becoming a star. Caden Curry is becoming a star at defensive end to go along with Caleb Downs. They have played, it looks to me, and you're better with your eyes on the film here, Cole, they have played very cautiously on offense, it seems to me. They are trying to, it looks like, ease in Julian Sand. And he looks good. And he has played very well, but it does seem like they're trying not to burden him too much. I'm interested to, and it's worked out great, but what does that look like when they cut him loose? And when he is ready to be cut loose, you have the best receivers in the country to throw it to. So I guess the one thing I would say about Ohio State is, what happens when their offense sort of catches up to their defense? Do they then become the team that I talked about before, where it's oh, wait a second. Now that team looks a little different than the rest of them. Even with Oregon, as talented as Oregon is, and Oregon's done a great job of working in a lot of younger players to have sort of, as to make them weapons early in the season, and Dante Moore looks great. But how good is Ohio State if Sayin gets handed the keys in the way a C.J. Stroud or a more experienced, talented quarterback has, and they say, okay, man, we're just going to let this rip, and we're going to let you throw 35 times, and now let defenses try to deal with Tate and Smith and those receivers? Because, again, for me, against Texas and against Washington, they seem to be thinking like, we're just going to lean on our defense here and give Julian a break. Or not a break, but make sure Julian is comfortable and we don't ask too much of him.
Absolutely. Ralph Russo of The Athletic joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I want to take a complete left turn here in a different aspect of college football. We've already seen a much larger number than I would have ever imagined of head coaches let go at this point in the season. I'm interested, Ralph, though. I don't want to go like how many more is going to happen to this, that, but has your opinion changed? Because mine coming into this season, I don't know if yours was close, mirrored mine, whatever it was. Hey, with all this revenue share, NIL, we got to find every penny we can moving forward. Like, we're not going to be as trigger happy to let these guys go anymore. That is proving itself wrong early in this season. And maybe some of these were teed up. Maybe some of these were going to happen anyway. But it doesn't change the fact that massive buyouts are still going to have to be paid. Kids are going to have the portal open to them during the season to be able to leave. And then you're going to have to find somebody else most likely at the end of the season. So has your opinion shifted on how hiring, firing coaches is going to go in this new era of college football based on what you've already seen?
So a little bit here. I thought like you, I think I agreed with you, and I feel like this is where you were going. On terms of the early firings, I was of the opinion that you'd have schools, not because of the money doesn't change that much early in the season, but that because of the portal and the disruption, you might have schools be a little bit more like, hey, we're just going to ride this out. It's not good. We know eventually we're going to do it, but we don't want to disrupt the team and worry about like a bunch of guys going into the portal. So let's ride this out. That obviously has not happened. And I do wonder if part of that is, think of it from an NFL mindset, right? Maybe you have more players with contracts that say, yeah, if you jump in the portal, that's fine, but you're not getting paid.
Like, what was this thing that Virginia Tech did? Everybody's mad at Virginia Tech because they're basically saying, hey, if you leave, like, we're getting our money back. Sorry, like, you made a deal.
Well,
and people are mad at them for this.
And so that also goes to the idea, right? I mean, like, think of it from an NFL. It also, like, think of it from an NFL perspective from this way. A, you might not get paid, and to me, honestly, that's fine. You know, like that's what we're doing here, right? So like let's be real, and if you're getting paid to be on the team and you don't want to be on the team, you don't either get paid or you have to give some money back. The other thing too is what struck me is this mentality of, hey, I got to play for my next paycheck, right? Like I need to be here playing to put some things on tape, whether it's here or somewhere else next year. Like if I just bail out after 3 or 4 games and my tape doesn't look particularly good, how am I cashing in on that? So like I don't know if that's pervasive, but I found myself when there wasn't a massive rush from a lot of these teams of players into the portal, those were the couple of places where my mind went. A, are you giving up money now? But B, are you giving up money later by not putting yourself on tape? Because, I mean, that's the NFL, right? I mean, like, obviously you have a contract to play for the whole season, but even bad teams, the players on those teams are motivated for their next job, right? So they have to keep playing hard because they understand that that's the only way you're going to stay in the league. So I do wonder if some of that attitude is transferring to college football as well. And that's affected, you know, some of these early firings. But yeah, I was expecting a heavy cycle this year, frankly, Cole. Like we were quiet the last couple of years. So the fact that they're coming a little early was surprising, but I was figuring, I think a lot of folks in the industry thought like this was going to be a year where the floodgates might open in the P5 in terms of coach movement.
And we still got plenty of time to go. There's no doubt about that. So, Ralph, great stuff. Thanks for hopping on with us. Always appreciate the time. Look forward to doing it again soon.
Excellent. Thanks, Cole.
There you go. Ralph Russo with The Athletic joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline to talk some college football. More to come, more to get to, all next right here on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Some news we did not get to earlier today is that SEC Media Days will go to Tampa next year.
Oh, okay. That makes somewhat sense.
They did basketball Media Days there once, I think.
They did, yeah. That's where Florida Georgia will be soon, and the SEC will be represented there.
Championship game of
Football.
Oh, national championship game. I thought, is there something about the SEC championship game I missed? We're not going to do that there anymore?
Sorry. The playoff ultimate championship game. Oh, that's a kind of a cool name. We might need to trademark that.
Yeah, if you're G5 and you got to start your own thing,
the ultimate championship
game. The ultimate college football playoff. I mean, I'm all for moving it around.
It's a nonstop flight from Birmingham, so I think that's a win. That's cool for us. We'll take that.
That's a huge win. I just tell you, having to book my travel to go to College Station this weekend, I forget how difficult it is to get there.
Whew.
There's just no easy way to do it. Going in, going out, you fly to Austin and drive, you fly to Houston and drive, you go to Atlanta and wait, and then get on a direct from Atlanta. You go through DFW. It's just like, it's not easy. Now I know why Jimbo wanted that direct from Atlanta to College Station.
Yeah.
Still can't get it. Like there's no easy way to do it. I'm sitting there trying to find a direct, and I can't find one less than 2 connections. I'm just like, oh, and then it's a drive from Austin and Houston. It's like an hour and a half.
See, it's not like a 20, 30 minute. No, it's a actual drive.
And the only departure out from College Station that I could get to Charlotte is 5 a.m. And I'm like, you know what? No. I'm not doing that to myself. Don't have to do that. Not going to do that to myself. So we're gonna say no to that one. That's going to be a hard pass. So, but I don't know. Tampa, it doesn't feel SEC-ish. Really?
Not really, no.
But you do kind of want to get areas like that maybe more involved in it. Maybe a couple local radio shows, news stations will come and cover it more, and it'll get you more eyeballs in different places that you're not already getting those. I don't know.
It's at least in the footprint. Like while I understand why they would do it here, it would feel odd if it were in like Charlotte. Like Charlotte, the city makes sense because of so much talent and the SEC, whatever that's there. I get it, but it would just feel weird in Charlotte.
I felt like New Orleans was the easy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
It's right there. Yeah.
If we're going to move it, how has that not gotten one?
Yeah.
And what would be next after that? Is there another one after that?
I mean, we already went there, but Dallas feels easy too. I mean, I'm thinking travel-wise and accessibility.
Yeah, I think the main thing with Dallas is just that I don't know how many people. There's the percentage of people who care about it there feels like it's a lot less. Like there's a lot of people in Atlanta that care about it. A lot of people in Birmingham that care about it. A lot of people in Nashville that care about it. I think New Orleans, there will still be a lot of people that care about it.
And maybe at that time of year, people in Tampa will. Because let's be honest, the Rays will be done. Assuming they're even there.
Yeah, but you got NFL fans, you got MLB fans. Do they still have a hockey team? The Lightning? Aren't they good?
But in July.
You're saying they got a lot of other things they care about.
They do, yeah.
I don't know what other city makes a lot of sense. Like, you're probably not going to go to Columbia.
Nashville, maybe. But again, how much are people caring? Maybe a bachelorette party stumbles upon you guys or something.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville was great when it was there. I don't know if I would assume it'll probably go back there. I'm just thinking if there's a new city we need to go to, what is it? New Orleans is the first one. I don't know about Memphis. I don't know about, like you said, Charlotte, probably not. You're not even in that state. You're not going to St. Louis. Columbia, South Carolina feels like a big enough city, but you probably don't want to go to another team's individual town, a certain team's town. Like I don't feel like you want to do that, even though because like Vandy kind of doesn't count. Like Nashville's not Vandy town. Like no. Tuscaloosa's Alabama town. Well, Auburn's Auburn town. Yes. Starkville's Mississippi State town. Austin is not Texas town, but you're not going to go to Austin or Columbia. Like you're just not. No. It's not. I don't really think you can do that to the other teams. Nobody looks at going to Nashville as like, we're going to invade Vandy territory.
No. That's what the Titans are there for.
How many wins they have?
That'd be 0.
Oh, okay.
This year.
Yeah. How many wins are they going to have this year?
I say about 3. late in the season when teams that are already locked in the playoffs
Trying not to get the number 1
they're
overall
playing their
pick.
second.
What about Oklahoma City?
Maybe.
Houston. What's the difference between Houston and Dallas? Honestly, I mean, I'm not talking about like the actual differences, but I'm saying for media days, what's the difference between Houston and
At
Dallas?
that point, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Because I would be willing to bet over the period of time more Houston kids have played in the SEC than Dallas kids have.
Well, what about your home away from home, old San Antonio?
You might be there that week. Well, no,
That's not. That
UFL
doesn't
will be done
overlap.
by that time. Yeah.
I'm just going to say no. No,
No.
is what I'm going to say to that. I'm going to say no to that. We're not doing that. That may be the first one that I don't go. Y'all can have every
Right. I was
The
just here
green
a couple
water.
months ago.
and your pontoon boat trips down the river. No, I'm not doing it. All right, we'll be back next. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Going to get to a bad box health. If you are feeling on edge, if you're lacking sleep, lacking energy, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you today. All you do, go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com, sign up for this free testosterone test. They're going to give you a baseline of your health, let you know how they can help you. They have weight loss programs. They have the peptides in stock and offer testosterone replacement. A lot of different ways that they can help you feel better. The Augsburg,
They're the Eagles?
they are.
No. Wow. Okay.
Did you know that?
Not at all.
They took on the St. John's
Weatherman.
Patriots.
Johnnies. You should have known that.
Oh yeah.
The Johnnies.
Figured you guys should have known that. St. John's sneaked out the win 63-0 over the weekend.
Not the worst.
Okay.